Welcome along to another lore video. Others like Burr and Galnet News Digest already do a great job of giving you the here is the news thing, so for those of you new to my channel, what I do is go out and explore a few of the things that they talk about briefly in their weekly reports and discuss some of the theories that players have had about them. So when new things happen, there's often a lot of confusion and theories flying around, so I normally wait until all the different permutations have been thrashed out and then examine the points of interest that come out of it all for me personally, and hopefully for you as well. And for people who don't keep up with the story but just want the salient points, I do try and extract those for you. So Galnet articles have appeared which mainly echo, in broad strokes anyway, the main thoughts of the player base about what has been happening since Salvation's failed attempt to get rid of the Thargoids. So this article here has experts speculating on what happened in HIP 22460, and it covers the three main possibilities. So the first is that the Thargoids learned how to assimilate Salvation's weapon into their sight, possibly by watching him do it for weeks before he fired it, and now they've learned how to counteract any Guardian technology that could be used against them. The second is that they've always been able to do this, and they've only just decided to show their hand now, as it were. And the third is that both of these ideas may be looking at it the wrong way, and the Thargoids may simply be adapting to anything thrown at them because that's what they do. Possibly something that evolved as a survival trait, or some technology they've developed for their own protection. And our mistake is to constantly try to apply human-style motivation to anything they do. Other articles in the last couple of weeks do much the same thing, looking at the situation from most of the angles that are being discussed by people. Even Denton Petraeus, the Empire's blunt instrument, has noticed that although HIP 22460 came under heavy fire for weeks, the Thargoid site itself was not attacked in all that time. And that would seem to lend credibility to the idea that it was never the Thargoid's intent to destroy the weapon, but to neutralise its effects and then take it over. So now we've got the Empire going full-on isolationist, sitting on a stool in their backyard with a shotgun shouting "Get off my lawn." And they're even cutting outside suppliers, and it's probably only a matter of time before they recall any of their ambassadors that they have in other places, because they will no longer serve any useful purpose to the Empire if they've decided to just close off all communication and cooperation with anybody but themselves. The Federals think the priority is to target their own citizens who talk about peace and similarly dangerous intellectual concepts. And President Mahon of the Alliance seems to be becoming more dictatorial and less about consulting the Assembly before doing anything, which is only what the Alliance is supposed to be about. He's right that this is not the time to grow more insular but join forces against a common enemy, but then he's chosen Sirius to work with, which I would not call the best example of doing that. And I do hope that there is some good story reason for this attack of myopia amongst the superpowers. I can only assume at this point that it's to make them completely unprepared for whatever the Thargoids do next. Because, yeah, this is a special kind of stupid. You know, you don't get that done by accident. It takes practice. Two final things of significance for me. The first, that the roar we hear at the end of the Salvation video is now public knowledge, despite attempts to suppress it. And the case against Admiral Tanner has come to a conclusion, the retrial concluding that his court-martial should stand. He is now banned from working for the government or the military, but he has been released from custody. And for most regular people, carrying around a sign on your back saying that my government and military don't trust me anymore would be a death sentence for getting another job. But as an ex-admiral of the Federal Navy, it seems to some people like letting him off lightly, because in the galaxy of Elite Dangerous there are always going to be companies looking for mercenaries with military experience who will pay handsomely for it, so Tanner will probably be okay. spend the rest of his days skirting on the edge of the law and making a quiet personal fortune. Maybe Sirius will give him a job. But unless he does anything further that is significant to the overall narrative, then his story, at least, is done for the moment. So, what are the Thargoids going to do next? That is the question. Well, after a couple of weeks of not much happening, on Monday they attacked 3 systems that are amongst the first that you would reach if flying to the bubble from HIP 22460. There are now anti-Xeno conflict zones in all 3 systems, but no burning stations at this point. Federal capital ships are in support, and the swarms of the Thargoids have been re-enabled so they work as normal. You might remember that before in HIP 22460, in the weeks leading up to Salvation firing his super weapon, the swarms would just follow the Thargoids around, perhaps because they hadn't figured out how to make them work when they're flying around you and capital ships at the same time. That seems to be sorted now, and they are working again as usual. And also, as usual, your normal anti-Xeno weapons will work fine, including your Guardian stuff. There are 3 community goals, 1 for each system, where good money can be made fighting the Goids. And this feels like a little bit of softening up before a more major attack, but as usual, we will see. Meanwhile, the Stargoid that was spotted, and which I mentioned in the last video, has 2 more companions, so now a total of 3, what we're calling Stargoids for the moment, have now been discovered. This interactive 3D map by Canon is plotting their progress. The yellow dots here are stars that you can see it from. As you can see from the menu, there's all kinds of stuff on here, ruins and what have you, all sorts of information on this excellent 3D interactive map. The green line is the path that each of these has taken so far. Remember, they're passing in interstellar space between solar systems, so you can't supercruise to them, but there are certain systems that you can see them from, and they are marked out by the yellow blobs that are attached to the green line. This is in relation to Sol, but don't assume that means that they're headed for Sol. It's just a point of reference. It doesn't mean that's the direction that they're travelling in. And as you can see when we zoom in here, that these green lines are not completely straight, and so there is so much margin for error to try and project at this point where they may end up in the bubble that, you know, there are several hundred star systems they could hit at the current angle, and that angle could change. So they've not been flying around and tracked for long enough for anybody to be sure of their ultimate destination. But this is an excellent map, an excellent resource, and it's being updated as and when new systems are discovered that you can see these things from. So give it a look, have a look around, and as usual, top job to the guys and girls from Canon for putting together such an excellent interactive visual representation of what is happening out there. The rogue signal sources that sometimes appear in systems the Stargoids are passing by appear as points of interest. They don't actually show up as signal sources, and also they don't have any tags like exploration or salvage or so on, which further lends credibility to the idea that we weren't supposed to find them yet. They also had a bug fixed where people tried dropping into them and crashed out to the desktop. That doesn't happen anymore, but I had 2 different experiences when trying it myself. So on Friday, it wouldn't let me get more than 1.16 light seconds, even when headed for it at top supercruise speed. Then on Saturday, it let me in, but as you can see, the source is empty. So are these things leading the Stargoids to their destination, or are they residual radiation sources left by the Stargoids passing? We don't know, and various experiments are ongoing, including spectrographic analysis of the sounds they make, which people are recording and looking at. It wouldn't be the first time FDev have hidden images in sound files, but so far nothing conclusive has been discovered, and the whole investigation is ongoing, so watch this space. So here in the FSS is the sound of the Stargoid itself, exactly as it was in the last video. But then when you zoom in on the rogue signal source, the sound changes. And back again to the sound of the Stargoid. Some people are saying the rogue signal source sound is the same as the sound you find in non-human signal sources. I haven't confirmed that for myself though. There's one final puzzle I want to look at. What is going on with the ancient obelisks at Guardian sites and ruins? If you now visit any obelisk, either at a Guardian site or a Guardian ruin, the ones that glow are all displaying the same two symbols, like the ones here. You can still target and scan the obelisks, and they will still give you the pattern data that they normally do, randomly selected from Alpha to Epsilon, that you use to unlock Guardian technology, and that's unaffected by whatever this change may be. Some of you may be aware of the mission given to you by the engineer Ram Tah, called Decoding the Ancient Ruins. For those of you who don't know what that is, when you enter the mean system where Ram Tah lives, you normally get a message from him offering you the mission to help him with his research into Guardians. By taking the correct Guardian items with you to 101 different sites and scanning certain obelisks there with the items aboard your SRV, you get extra information about the Guardians, which is split into 5 categories: biology, culture, history, language, and technology. You get paid for each one you bring back to Ram Tah, and a bonus if you collect them all. This mission now seems to be gone. You don't get it when entering the system, and there's no mention of it even if you dock at Ram Tah's base. Not even if you disembark and talk to him in person. What makes this doubly odd is that in the same system you can pick up a second mission from Ram Tah, but only by going to one of the 2 stations there, either Weber Dock or Mitchell Dock. Now for this mission, decrypting the Guardian logs, you need to carry both Guardian and Thargoid items to unlock the necessary information from the ancient obelisks, and there are fewer sites to visit, only 28 this time. I don't have the necessary Thargoid items or a large enough corrosion resistant cargo rack to carry them all, but like the Decoding the Ruins mission, you get paid for each one you scan, and a bonus for scanning them all. So when I went to Weber Dock, I got the message with no text, but the voice acting still plays.
Commander, I have an opportunity you'd be foolish to turn down. New Guardian sites have been discovered. The codices at these locations could reveal a great deal more about the Guardian Society. I've developed a way to decrypt the data from these Guardian sites, and I'll relay the relevant information back to you as soon as I have it. Although I cannot specify the various combinations of objects and data types required, my decryption software should help decipher the ancient data. The key is using the ancient objects with active obelisks to unlock the data. I've taken the liberty of uploading my decryption key to your ship's systems. Unfortunately, the ancient technology adapts to the cipher after a few weeks, so our task is time critical. Please explore as many ancient sites as you can find. If you find all the data entries, there will be a bonus in it for you.
And so I wonder if this is an oversight and they just forgot to remove the mission. Probably. But with no way to know which, whether this is by accident or design, for now, it's just another little mystery. Of more immediate interest is the Guardian obelisks showing the same 2 symbols wherever you go. Like the Thargoid star map chambers turning Guardian relics green, this seems to be too much of a coincidence to be anything but another knock-on effect of the Proteus Wave event. But what does it mean? How far does it go? Are the ancient obelisks at the more far-flung Guardian ruins also affected in this way, like the ones on the way to Colonia, or in the two-mass system near the Eta Carina Nebula? Perhaps somebody going out that way could find out and let me know. Perhaps all that remains of the Guardians are a few automated systems like the Sentinels, relic towers, pylons you shoot to expose the ancient data terminals which give out the blueprints. But this changing of the symbols on the ancient obelisks has to be the result of events in HIP 22460 and would seem to indicate some kind of response from whatever remains of the Guardians. At this point, I have no idea what any of it means, of course, but one thing I'm wondering about is that so far, with the focus being on the Thargoids, with the 3 Stargoids slowly making their way towards the bubble, and the Thargoid attacks on systems starting up again this week, in all of the focus on that, what if there's something big going on in Guardian space while we're all watching the dreaded space lettuce? Is this just a response of some ancient automated alien network? Or are we about to find out more about both species, Thargoids and Guardians, and perhaps discover more about the connection between them? It could be that the events to come will give us new information, not just on our main enemy, but on a civilization we thought was long gone. Maybe the Guardians are not as dead as we thought they were. Thanks for watching.